All right, hello everybody. I'm making a YouTube video for you guys so I can explain my deployment that I'm going to be making. This deployment should be fun. It can be long or it can be short depending on how you guys operate. If you guys have read my rules and regulations inside of my operation hub on Discord, I'm going to be going over those and talking about it. So our first ops are going to include heavy guerrilla warfare inspired theming. This means you can pick up equipment, clothing, weapons from the Soviets or FIA, whoever we're fighting. I do suggest that you try and stick to your MOS. If you kill a sniper and you're not a sniper, don't pick it up. For the next point, most of our assets, command, hammer down, strikers, vehicles, helicopters, all that will be unavailable for the first few ops. To get these, there will be specific objectives that will allow you to unlock these. When it comes to vehicles, there will be a list of what you have acquired and what you will have. One big rule on vehicles is if it is damaged on the field, I as a GM will not repair your vehicles unless you drive them back to camp. If a vehicle is about to explode or it is on fire, consider it lost and do not try bringing it back to camp. I will not repair it if it is burning or explodes on the field. When it comes to vehicle commandeering, you can grab a vehicle, bring it back to camp. I'll put it on the list. When it comes to things like command and artillery, these things will be explained to you when it will be available and how you can get it, such as, okay, command's gone, so we need to take a radio tower, a very important radio tower of some sort. Speaking of radios, our starting ops, you will not carry a radio except for the very beginning. Once you lose that radio, you will not have a radio. Do not pick up a Russian radio. If you do, and I find out that an entire squad is carrying Russian radios, you will not be allowed to participate in the remainder of that op for that day. Reason being, lore-wise, if you have a Russian radio, they're going to be scanning their radios and they'll figure out that you stole it. And that's why you won't be participating, because they would have killed you and found out where everyone is. Radio spawns at first aren't really going to be used as often. The first few ops, you're going to be running around with spawn points that are going to be moving with you, at least until you set up camp. Camps are very important to this op. You have 3 camps. You can get more eventually, but this ties into the next point. Before each of the ops, you'll be shown a progression bar of how covert or overt you are. And this pretty much shows the actions you've been taking, and depending on the actions of you guys, the meter will change. The more you're being aggressive, using explosives, doing a lot of shooting, your overt meter will be higher. And the higher it is, the more likely your camps are to be discovered and attacked, in which you will have to defend them. You will have no respawns when attacking these camps. That way there's stake for you losing them. Now, depending on how high that overt meter is, like I said, it'll change how often they attack your camps and how much of a force will attack your camps. If your meter's maxed out, you can guarantee that an entire army will attack your camp, and you better be ready to defend yourself. To lower this meter, you can do covert things such as stealing documents, assassinating officials, and the whatnot. This meter also ties into the guerrilla warfare aspect, as you can blend in with civilians in towns. The lower your covert meter, the better chance you have of not being discovered while in a city. The higher it is, if you're talking to a civilian, they're likely going to report you for terroristic actions. They're going to go to the nearest soldier, talk to them, and you'll be overt and attacked. So it's good to be covert when you want to do civilian interactions. I highly recommend that you guys do that for those portions. If you realize, oh shit, our meter is fucked and really high, we need to go do things to lower it. Now, you guys can have any play style that you want. You can be stealthy, you can be loud, but I will adapt accordingly. The enemies will adapt accordingly. So I don't want every op to be a stealth op. You guys want action. I understand that. You guys will have action, and you guys will have stealthy moments. There's combat moments where you can choose to be stealthy, and stealthy moments where you can choose to show excessive force. Like, okay, let's steal this document and then blow up the base. Okay, your overt meter's going up. Those kind of things. One of the biggest things in this deployment is the guerrilla warfare aspect. Eventually, you guys will get to the point where guerrilla warfare isn't going to be a thing anymore. You're fully equipped in US gear. You have all your assets available. You have a heavy stock of equipment. Speaking of heavy stock, I recently made a change. I haven't written it down in my operation hub, where if you get into too many large engagements in an op, the next op you do, I will take a few mags from your inventory. Whatever you guys usually carry, I will tell you to lose this much, depending on how much action you had. If you were constantly shooting an entire op, chances are you may only have 2 mags on you. Yeah, you can pick them up, but this is just to deter you guys from starting out with no ammo and fighting a heavy force that puts up a lot of resistance, and you're just going through your mags. This op, like I said, it can be long or it can be short. You can fail this op if you lose your camps. You can fail this op if you're too overt during the guerrilla phase. At least if you're overt too often and your meter's maxed out for multiple ops, chances are you're going to fail in one of the ops. To give you guys a little history on this deployment, this takes place a couple years after our recent deployment, Brass Thunder. You may remember when we stole an HVT and he was a government official, and we implanted our own government official. Well, he became the president of Evron and turned it into a democracy. We have our own U.S. embassy in Lementon. That is where we will be starting our deployment from, is at that U.S. embassy. There will be tons of U.S. equipment there. Remember that. Eventually, the president of Evron passes away and his son takes over. His assistant, the son's assistant, calls us to Evron to do some humanitarian aid due to a recent earthquake. While we're there doing humanitarian aid in multiple cities, the assistant will call and tell us that the new dictator, he'll call him a president because he's in cahoots with him, and you won't have to worry about the assistant ever again. He'll call us and say, yeah, so our president, he recently bought a new land called Arland and would like you guys to come visit. and show your support there, maybe set up a US embassy. And from there, I will stop the server and restart it on Ireland. The first op will take place on both islands. You won't spend much time on Everon, so don't worry. And then you'll be shipped over to Ireland, and from there, the rest of the first op will start. And from there, it is up to you guys. There will not be many briefings when it comes to this deployment. A lot of the guerrilla portion is listening to enemies, listening to the Soviets, and gathering information from listening to them, because you do not have command for the first few ops. So what I can recommend is, if you see a checkpoint, go listen. Get to a point where you can listen to them. And they'll give you tips on where to go and what you can find. Like, let's say, okay, there's a convoy. They're talking about a convoy moving. Okay, that convoy has ammo and medical supplies. You go raid that, and you have more ammo and medical supplies at your disposal. They'll also tell you about HVTs, the officers, intel, all that stuff, so you guys can progress. This is a heavily player-focused deployment. You guys are running it, not me. Think of it like Dungeons and Dragons. I am the game master. I just tell the story, but you guys... Well, let me rephrase that. You guys tell the story, and I just move it along. So, you guys are the main focus of this deployment, not my ideas. My ideas are just rules and regulations, but you guys push it forward. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm hoping this lasts and you guys don't fail. I'm sure you won't. You guys are the fucking best group of guys I've ever met. But let's get out there. I'll probably be starting next week on either Monday or Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to it. And I hope to see you guys, and you guys have a great time. Like I said, if you have questions, reach out to me, and I'll be sure to answer them as soon as possible.